Hey guys, it's Ray, and today I have 25 new tips and tricks to improve your van life and car camping experience. Pull it out. From a hidden microwave on wheels and DIY gearboxes to a bi-folding space-saving countertop, then I lean it up and a cheap DC to DC charging alternative. This video is full of NOMAD nuggets, plus money-saving tips for flooring, a magnetic spice rack, a mixing bowl sink, a no-drill backup camera, and tiny trackers to protect your gear. From DIY to ready-made, I've got helpful hacks, tiny tips, and game changers coming your way. Man, that's a lot. I'm getting exhausted just teasing what's coming up. We got a lot to get to, so let's do this. Here's a quick reminder to check the description for a link to my last video with my top 15 hacks, tips, and tricks. This video is going to start with tip number 16. Use iPhone AirTags and Android Chipolo trackers to protect your rig and your most expensive gear. I have them hidden inside my roof box, my awning, and my cargo carrier, as well as inside the van and underneath on the frame. I also like to use these waterproof AirTag vaults to secure these things and mount them. You just take your AirTag, you pop it in there, and you can see here, it's this orange thing, that's a seal. That makes it watertight. You're going to screw that back together. This is VHB tape, adhesive from 3M. You're going to peel that off. You're going to peel that off and then just go stick it into place. A quick disclaimer, a lot of criminals are wise to AirTags, so they'll carry an iPhone with them, and then they can force the AirTag to play a sound, and that makes it easy to find. Unless. Tip number 17. Take the speaker out of your AirTags before you hide them on your rig or inside your gear. So you're just going to take the AirTag, you're going to press and twist, and this cap, that's the battery cover, it comes off. You're going to pop out the battery, you're going to set it to the side, and now kind of line this up with that dot at the top. And you're going to be really careful if you're using an X-Acto knife. You can also do this with a jeweler's screwdriver, but you're going to find two places to pop out. This inner insert snaps in, and you can see I've done this one before, but you're going to dig in and press it up like that on one side, and you dig it out. All right. So now that you get that out of the way, this is the speaker right here in the center, and we're just going to dig it out. So we're going to reach down in there, and we're going to pop that thing out. There it is. It popped right out. That's the speaker. I'm going to turn that over so you can see it. That's what you want to take out of there. And you want to line that up with that hole right there. See? And it should snap right back into place. So you just replace your battery, twist the thing back on. There it is. Okay, now you're done. Tip number 18. Attach a weather-resistant bike alarm to anything that's easy to unscrew or remove. I've got one on the back of my shower tent right here. These are awesome because they come with a remote to turn it on or off, and they work on vibration. That's just a warning. They're really loud. And bonus tip, you can use these bicycle cable locks for an extra layer of security. I've got one here on the back of my shower tent. And I have some wrapped around my solar panel mounts. None of these methods is foolproof, but hopefully you can dissuade a thief from targeting your rig. Tip number 19. Drill a hole in a mixing bowl and add a no overflow bath drain for a cheap vessel sink. You'll need a drill, a 1.5-inch hole saw, and a metal file to smooth out the rough edges. Drill another hole in a tile or wood countertop, and the sink can drop straight down into a 3 or 5 gallon water container below. It's cheap, it's easy, and it looks great too. Tip number 20. Make your own magnetic spice rack. Step 1. On any flat surface, mount these adhesive strips that chefs use to hang knives on the wall. Step 2. Get these cheap square magnetic spice tins. This is all you need if you're stationary or in a house, but if you're going to be bumping around on the road, you need extra holding power. So step 3. Get a set of these round neodyme magnets and put one on the bottom or the back of the spice tin to give you extra staying power. Trust me, you don't want these falling off and bouncing around. It's a mess. I also added magnets to the back of my spice rack so I could quickly pop it in and out of my DIY sink box. See the description for a detailed video of that build. Tip number 21. Speaking of the sink box, make movable modular components if you're tight on space. My Mazda minivan is much smaller than its Toyota, Honda, and Dodge counterparts, so I had to get creative. In transit mode, my sink box and toilet sit behind the front seats, but in camp mode, the front seats move up, I slide the boxes forward, and I have a ton of extra floor space. And just to be safe, you might want to add locking cam latches to the floor and your movable parts. Tip number 22. Make a bifolding countertop. Mine is long enough to hold an air fryer and a double burner stove, but it can also fold up and out of the way thanks to a few magnets and 2 piano hinges. You know, you probably noticed these hinges here on the countertop. Well, I just take this part of the countertop, fold it back here, and it has some magnets that hold it in place, and then I lean it up. The fan pivots out of the way. Use any kind of board for the top. It doesn't have to be butcher block. I just happened to have a portable kitchen island that was falling apart, so I salvaged the top for this project. Cut it in half or whatever length works for you and connect the boards with a piano hinge. Then attach a second hinge to the back side of the main board. You'll need another piece of wood on the back side to mount the other hinge to. I'm using an extra piece of that butcher block for mine. It's mounted on top of some 2x2 legs that are attached to my wood floor. And you'll need something below the board to support it when it's folded down. I have a 2x6 board holding this side up. It's mounted to the top of my microwave box, and I have my wood toilet box on the other side. You could use anything solid for a brace as long as it's the right height. Tip number 23, hide your microwave. Here, and I just lift this board down, grab the handle, pull it out. Create a wood box on your floor to hold a small microwave. You don't need holes for ventilation because you won't turn it on inside the box. Make a hinged door for quick access. I added magnets to hold the door in place when it's up. Next, I use JB Weld to mount a handle on one side and 4 washers with tiny wheels on the bottom so I can roll it in and out easily. Tip number 24, save time, weight, and money on flooring. Only create flooring for the exposed part of your build. You probably don't need to cover the whole floor in your rig. My wood floor only goes a couple of inches under my sofa bed. I used 1/2-inch plywood as a base. You don't need anything thicker than that. The top is covered in water-resistant wood-look vinyl planks, and I added thin aluminum angle on the edges to polish the look. Here's a bonus tip. Build your floor all the way up to the back of your front seat rail mounts, and make sure the floor is low enough that the seats can slide back over it. Because of this one trick, you won't have to drill any holes or do anything to mount your flooring to the car. It's not going anywhere, even if you slam on the brakes, because it's under the seats. Tip number 25. I didn't want to spend $300 to $500 for rooftop gearboxes, so I bought these medium-sized toolboxes from Home Depot for about 45 bucks each. They're already waterproof, so I just needed to figure out how to mount them and how to keep them watertight after drilling holes in them. I drilled 4 holes, installed threaded hex bolts, and mounted them on 2 short unistrut half-channel rails on top of my roof crossbars. To keep them watertight, I used butyl tape under the washers inside and outside the box. I've driven thousands of miles in a lot of heavy wind and rain, and these don't leak. Butyl tape works. Tip number 26. If you have a swing-out cargo box like this one, or you're thinking about buying one, here are a couple of tips. If you drill a hole in the backside and insert a long threaded bolt, you can mount a spare tire on the inside. I did that for a while. Or you can flip that bolt around so it sticks outside, and you can mount a ladder, a chair, or some traction boards on the inside edge here. And just look at all the stuff I've got in here. I've got 2 5-gallon buckets, a generator, a folding toilet, camp chair, a step ladder, and an outdoor rug. That's a lot of gear. And even though I'm under the maximum weight limit, when I swing this out all the way, that heavy cargo puts a lot of stress on the hitch mount. So I added a stabilizer jack to the bottom of the frame. I paid a professional welder to mount the jack permanently, but you could also drill holes and secure it with bolts. If you do weld it, you'll need to touch up the paint to make sure it doesn't rust in the future. Tip number 27. Use a $100 AC inverter instead of a more expensive DC to DC charger if you have a portable power station. I have a 1000 watt Renogy inverter wired to my 12 volt car battery with a 200 amp circuit breaker inline for safety. I run an AC extension cord from the inverter to my Blue Eddy power station in the trunk, and I have a remote on-off switch up front. If I don't have enough solar coming in, or I just want to top up the portable battery, the inverter pulls about 470 watts from my main car battery and sends it back to charge the Blue Eddy. In the Blue Eddy app, you can see the charging watts from the Renogy inverter on the top right. That's a solar input on the left. I have to use this setup sparingly though, because a stock car alternator really isn't designed to pump extra amps into an inverter. Occasionally the inverter will shut off and I'll get a low voltage warning. Pushing it too much will damage my starter battery. I probably need to invest in a high output alternator and pay for what's known as a Big 3 wiring upgrade to make this reliable full time. But this works fine for now. Tip number 28. With most backup cameras, you can't see over cargo carriers or bike racks. This is how you mount one up high with no drilling. You'll need to purchase the camera, one large rubber-coated magnet, a few smaller rubber-coated magnets with eye bolts, cable ties, and a posi-tap connector. Position the large magnet where you want it and attach the camera with a small bracket. Zip tie the exposed wire to a couple of the small magnets and eye bolts to keep the wire from blowing in the wind while you're driving. Then run the wires into a door or rear hatch and cover them in white waterproof Gorilla Tape. Next, use the posi-tap connector to connect the camera wire to your car's reverse light wire. You don't have to cut the wire. These connectors are amazing. That's how the camera gets power and turns on when you put the car in reverse. You still need to run a wire up to a monitor or your stereo head unit, but that's for another video. Tip number 29, suspension enhancement. I installed a Timbren brand suspension enhancement system to prevent my rear end from sagging. The water tank weighs over 55 pounds full. The power station is 65. So that's an extra 120 pounds, not including all the wood framing and the fridge and the freezer. So before you load up the rear end, be sure to check if your vehicle can handle that extra weight. The install is easy. No special tools required. You just need a floor jack. But this is important. These can prevent sagging and improve the ride and handling of your rig, but they don't increase your cargo carrying capacity. Don't overbuild or exceed your vehicle's weight limits. Tip number 30. Use a long wood pole to feed wire into hard to reach places. Just tape the wire to the end of the wood dowel and then thread it into the hard to reach area and shove it up there. I use this trick to get wires from the power station in my trunk up here to the fuse panel 6 feet away. That's it for the big ones. Now here are 10 tiny tips, or NOMAD nuggets if you will, in no particular order. 1. Get a tiny rechargeable air pump. It's perfect for car tires, bike tires, air mattresses, and inflatables. 2. Get a tiny smoke alarm like this. It's got a 10-year lithium battery, so you don't have to change it or deal with the dreaded beeping. 3. Get a super absorbent microfiber towel that packs down tiny like this. It works better than big cotton towels, and it fits perfectly inside my tiny shower go bag. 4. Use these tiny bungee ball straps to secure all kinds of stuff. They keep my food containers from bouncing around inside the van, and outside I use them to strap down my extra awning poles. 5. Use this tiny table for quick meals on the go. It hangs on your steering wheel, has just enough space, and it's plenty sturdy. 6. These tiny clear refrigerator bins make great drawers. I'm using them in my DIY kitchen sink box. See the description for a link to the build video. 7. Use these tiny mounting squares and cable ties for wire organizing everywhere. I have them on the back panel, on the fuse panel, and even behind the sideboards. 8. I have 6 of these cheap LED puck lights that you can push on and off, or you can use a remote and control them all. 9. I have this tiny dimmable LED light over my stove. It's removable and it's rechargeable. And 10, speaking of recharging, I use lithium batteries in all the puck lights, so I have a tiny battery charger mounted right here with some Velcro. It plugs into my power station with a USB-C cable. We're on a roll, so here's one final bonus tip. Get a ratcheting paper towel holder that won't unroll when the wind is blowing or while driving with the windows down. Or just go old school and shove a hand towel between the paper towels and the ceiling. That works too. Well, that's it. My 25 new tips for car camping and van life. If you got anything out of this video, please give it a like. It really helps support the channel. Until next time, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.